some people who, whatever happens to them, they are somehow not that affected by it and they take it in their stride. And there are others, any little thing that goes amiss, it becomes something very big for them. Or even in us, we are in certain states of consciousness when things happen and we don't get very affected. But in other states of consciousness, any little thing and we get very triggered. We've noticed that, right? So what is the deciding factor for when we get triggered or when we don't? Or when people get triggered and when they don't? When do we get easily triggered? Is my question clear? Yeah, so when do we get easily triggered?
So when we have a situation which we feel is out of control.
Yeah.
Or the outcome is out of control.
Yeah. But what is it that sometimes will make you feel the same situation is not out of control, and sometimes you'll feel it's very out of, it's the same situation. I'm trying to ask you, what is it in you that makes it big or small?
How your ego perceives
How your ego perceives
how much you
it.
are involved in it's almost like how much you feel you take the onus for the situation.
Right, and your ego will be more involved when?
In mental status, what's your mental status at that?
So the more your thoughts are racing and the more identified you are with the thought, the bigger the same situation will appear to you, right? So let me explain this. Most of the times we are completely identified with our thoughts. Identified means we feel we are our thoughts. We feel what our thoughts tell us is correct. And there's nothing in us which can feel that it's outside thought. But all the great masters, including Mother and Sri Aurobindo, tell us that there are two aspects to us. One is the witnessing consciousness, which is called the Purusha or the observing field, and one is prakriti, the play of thoughts, the play of emotions, the play of body sensations. Everything in you which changes is in the realm of prakriti, and that in you which never changes but just witnesses is Purusha or the witness. Now in a state of avidya or ignorance, the Purusha and Prakriti are totally interlocked. The Purusha is completely identified with with Prakriti. So you feel you are your thoughts, because in that stance we don't feel we are different from our thoughts, because Purusha is completely entangled with Prakriti. But as we progress on the spiritual path, the first thing, or among the first signs of spiritual progress, is the separation of Purusha and Prakriti. What does that mean? That means that I can get a stance where I feel thoughts are happening here, but I'm a third person to the thoughts. I can watch thoughts like I'd watch a movie. I am outside the thought and simply witnessing the play of thoughts. So when I am little bit poised like that, finally the upset is in the realm of thought, right? Triggers are also in the realm of thought. So if I'm entangled with the thought and the thought is making the situation very big, I get triggered. But if I have the grace to be able to step back and watch the play of the thought, the same thing doesn't trigger me so much. Do you understand what I'm saying? So actually our problem in the human species is we've become too identified with thought, and we haven't trained ourselves to develop a better relationship with thought. I've always told you that the most important relationship in your life is your relationship with thought. It determines every other relationship in your life. If you're completely identified with thought, the thought and its ignorance will keep making you dance in different ways. You won't even perceive someone without the filter of your thoughts. So you won't really enjoy anyone's company also, because your thoughts are constantly coming in, building narratives, building whatever. So the first step in, I would say, spiritual, or if not the first, a very fundamental step in spiritual growth is to be able to separate the Purusha from the prakriti, is the capacity to watch thought as a third person. Yeah? So Sri Aurobindo has given this brilliant turn to the whole process of witnessing. All other yogas of the past say that Purusha and Prakriti are entangled, and the first thing is to disentangle Purusha and Prakriti, to be able to watch thoughts, and that's it, that's the journey. But Sri Aurobindo says this is only half the work done. Right now, the Purusha is in allegiance to, or is a slave to, Prakriti in ignorance, right? It's entangled with Prakriti, it's not the master of Prakriti. Prakriti is in that sense mastering it. So to free the Purusha from Prakriti is the first bit. But in his yoga, the most important thing is to get the Purusha to give allegiance to the higher Prakriti, to the Divine Mother. So first step is to free the Purusha from the lower Prakriti, and then to open the Purusha to the higher Prakriti or the Divine Mother, so that her force can work through the Purusha and change the lower Prakriti. So to put it, to summarize the process, Purusha and Prakriti are locked, they are identified, so there's no gap between you and thought. The first step is to disentangle Purusha from Prakriti. But the most important step is to turn the Purusha to the higher Prakriti, which is the Divine Mother, and allow her to flow through the Purusha into the lower Prakriti, so that our Prakriti changes. In all other yogas, it's okay to detach from Prakriti and let Prakriti do whatever it wants. So long as I'm not the Prakriti, I don't really care. But in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, that doesn't work, because our whole process of transformation is to transform the Prakriti flowing through. So Mother always says, remember and offer, right? If any negative movement is flowing through you, remember and offer. But the offering is very incomplete if there's no stepping back from the movement first. Because if you're identified with the movement and you offer, it tends to be to that extent a mechanical offering. But if you step back from the thought, if you can first witness the thought, hold the witnessing poise and offer it, then it's quite magical.